This next one, in the first couple of rounds, we did have some conflict issues. There was umpire and captain, and there was umpire and player, and there was even player on player from the same team. So, you know, people get a bit excited. So I thought it would be a good opportunity early in the season to go through player management and conflict resolution. Now I understand that not everyone likes what we call conflict resolution. I much prefer it's just called player management. And that's why I put that up there. It's really important to understand that we are in control of the games, in particular in conjunction with and support from the captains. Now if a captain doesn't speak to his players and you feel as a player overstepping the mark, then you're going to have a quiet word to the player, call the captain over and ask him basically to knock it off. So there's ways to do that, so I'm trying to give some guidance about how the best way to go. I understand fully not everyone's comfortable with conflict, not managing the game sometimes. We like the game to be nice and it goes along and played in the right spirit. But the reality is that going to happen in every game? You know it's not. So it's better that you're armed so that you know exactly what to do. Also tonight before you go, apart from taking the 16.4 handout, there's a handout of this PowerPoint as well. So you'll be able to take it away and have a read of it. Past experience between players and umpires, or the two teams, former teammates, now opponents, racial tension, sledging and or intimidation. Someone drops a catch, miss opportunity, they get aggro about it and kick the ground and show that they're not too happy, and then all of a sudden you only need a batsman to say something, or vice versa. Next thing, you know, there's a little bit of conflict. My advice has always been, as soon as you hear some comments being made, albeit friendly, just go up to the player, the captain, whoever, and just remind them, say, I hope you're just being friendly here, because if you're going to overstep the line, then we're going to have to do something about it. So please. And normally they'll say, oh, I played against them, or I played with them last year, now I'm playing against them, and whatever it might be. But we can handle it. If you let it go, because you think it's friendly banter, then you let the next one go because it's friendly banter, then you let the next... Guess what's happening by the fourth time? They're getting a bit serious. You know? And then all of a sudden you've got that conflict. So you can avoid conflict by getting in early, reminding them about playing the game within the spirit it's meant to be played, and I always say to them, don't force me to take action you're not going to like. Back on you. Sometimes you might say, two blokes having to say, come on guys, you both had a say, let's get on with the game. Nip it in the bud. But if you turn away, you don't tackle it, leave it, you create, it compounds. Be alert, know what motivated it. If possible, you're not going to pick it up all the time, but if possible, try and pick up what motivated this little bit of to and fro between players or whatever. Act with composure. If you get all anxious about and everything, then you'll start to, you know, and lose your train of thought. Just relax, take it easy, and just have a quiet word. But don't ignore it. Please, do not ignore it. Work with your partner, have a quiet word to the captain or player. Be strong but neutral, and try and seek a positive outcome. So that's what we aim to do. Is there anyone in here that's never had an argument with their wife, their girlfriend, their son, their daughter? We've all had arguments, haven't we? It happens. So you've got to try and avoid that scenario when players get a bit anxious and a bit uptight. The main thing is to be decisive. When you have been umpiring and there's an appeal for a catch behind, you've got to make a decision. It's either out or it's not out. Be decisive. No different to this. Be decisive. Set clear boundaries and stick to them. So in your mind, there's a bit of banter going and say, okay, there's something going on here. What's my boundaries here? I'm not going to let it fester. I'm not going to let it get out of control. So a quiet word first. And once you've given them a quiet word, what's going to happen then? You've already put them on notice. So if they overstep the mark again, you go up and say, listen, I already spoke to you earlier about this. If I have cause to speak to you again, you're forcing me to take action you're not going to like. That basically means I'm going to report you. So it's really important. Step-by-step guide for behaviour. Act decisively, talk to the player, have a quiet word. Batsman, do it when he's the non-striker. If the batsman at the other end, you might say quiet, quiet, but as soon as he becomes a non-striker, then you have a quiet word in his ear. Don't go walking all the way up the pitch. If it's a bowler feels, do it immediately. If inform your partner when appropriate. So it's really important at the end of the over, or drinks, or whatever it might be, just listen, I've had cause to give him a bit of a warning, let's keep an eye on him, so you're all on the same page. If a player does not respond, inform the captain. It's the captain's responsibility to take action. Now this is really crucial, this bit. If the captain is the one that's playing up, dare I say we've got a couple of captains that tend to fire up, then it's really simple to have a quiet word and say, listen, you've got to act responsibly. It's your duty and responsibility to act within the spirit of the game. I'm expecting you to take action against your players and be responsible. If you don't, basically, I'm going to be talking to you only once as a warning, and then I'm going to take action. Depending on the response will depend on whether the incident is escalated or to be placed on report. Now, I know a lot of you are sitting there going, oh, look, I never want to make a report. None of us want to make a report. But if a player oversteps the mark and does something wrong, then you should report that player. I find it amazing if a player swears at another player, we'll give him a warning. If a player swears at us, as umpires, we give him a warning. I'm telling you now, if a player swears at me, you're an effing so-and-so, he's in the book. I won't even give him a second chance. You've got to set standards, and you've got to have pride in what you do, and you've got to be treated with respect. I don't care if the decision is right, wrong or indifferent. That doesn't give the right for a player, a captain or anyone else to then become abusive to an umpire. And you shouldn't stand for it. You shouldn't stand for it.
When do you issue penalty runs in this?
Sorry?
When do penalty runs come into this?
When you believe that it's an unfair action. Under the law of fair and unfair play, which the umpires are the sole judge of, if you think they're being totally unfair, and I won't go through, there's 100 scenarios we can come up with, but if you believe they're totally being unfair, especially after a warning, maybe even a second warning, you can penalise the team 5 penalty runs. Batting or bowling.
Read the law.
Read the law. Work with your partner. Act calmly in a professional manner. Don't get caught up in the emotion of the moment. You know, Clarkie there trying to appeal to the other, come on, whatever it might be. Don't get caught up in it. Players mentioned for bad behaviour in the VSDCUA match report.
Just on that previous one.
Yep.
That umpire seems to be putting his hand out. Is that?
No, I wouldn't do that either, Leo. Would you do that?
No.
That's really inciting, you know, conflict, enhancing the conflict. So no, I certainly wouldn't do that. And I certainly wouldn't be getting in players' face. Give yourself a little bit of distance, but make sure you don't raise your voice, that it sounds like you're yelling at them. Be calm and composed. This one here, we've already had 2 that I'm aware of where players have received mentions. There might be more. So if you've got cause to put a player on mention, let the captain know after the game. We're going to mention Joe Bloggs on there because of this, this and this. Let the captain know. That gives the captain a chance to go and talk to him. So listen, the umpire's giving you a mention. You know, you get a second mention, you're going to be in strife. So it's really important. 2 mentions in the season equals 1 match suspension. So it's important. Don't put down a mention and you haven't told anyone at the club. Because then he gets a second mention, he gets found out, next thing he's got a match, say, oh, where did I get the first one? Well, you know, we've got to be transparent about it. Yes?
If you do make that mention on the report, do you have to back that up with something to the secretary or not?
Well, you put that in the report, and the secretary has access to all umpire reports. So he'll read that. You put in there, make it, you'd say why. Yep. You know, bad language being used, you know, or whatever it might be. Just very brief. Player, club, and what the mention was for.
And there's no need for anything else?
No, that's it. As long as you make sure you mention it to the club.
The club is supposed to come to us after the game.
Yeah, they're supposed to do that for the last 110 years, Leo. But I had the Williamstown game on Saturday, and a person came in and asked for the all clear, didn't you, Jeff? Now, also, bylaw 2.8.1, page 32 of our handbook talks about the reporting procedure, if need be. So it's there for you to understand if you need to make a report. I'm a great believer that if you communicate, ask the captain politely, ask the player politely, 99% of the time you wouldn't even get to a report or even a mention. But if a player's so thick and doesn't quite get it, or the captain doesn't quite get it, well, this is what you're going to take action of a mention or a report. Now also, the reporting procedure, this is crucial, this bit. The VSDCUA CEO/Secretary, which is Ken Hilton, be notified within 48 hours after the game completion. Ideally, all paperwork lodged by email. The VSDCUA will advise all parties of the tribunal date. The VSDCUA is responsible for assembling the tribunal panel. Now also, I think Peter White's still the advocate. So if you have cause to make a report, then I would ask you to go through James first as president. He'll put you in contact with Peter White. For many of you would know Peter White's a former umpire, a lawyer, and so he'll be the umpire's advocate to assist you. You might not want an advocate if you're happy and comfortable, but there's an advocate available. Now, is there any questions on this? Because that's the end of it. I mean, I just really want to get this done and dusted so that you've got some idea in your mind that if a captain gets out of place, something's going on, or a player is, complaining or overstepping the mark or whatever it might be, we've got a process in place that can assist you. Now, I'm available. If you ring me on a Saturday night or a Sunday morning because you weren't sure how to handle a certain situation, I'm happy to talk it through with you and say, well, okay, what did you do? How did you do it? What do you think you could do better? What do you do? And we can work through it together. That's my job, is to help you. So I don't mind if you ring me 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. I don't mind if you ring me at 8 o'clock Sunday morning. I'll still be in bed. But probably still playing. So it's really important that, you can get support, and if a push comes to shove, then, then you say, well, I probably should have reported him, whatever, then we can walk through all the scenarios. But it's important to have all this information. Does that all make sense? Yeah. So you'll get a copy of this PowerPoint as well. Okay? Any questions on that at all? Yes, Leo?
One situation that I've come across is where two players have played against each other for a number of years, or they've played together and now they're on opposite sides. And they'll have the banter, quite happily between themselves, and then you can get another player, whether it's the other batsman or a fieldsman, who thinks, maybe a younger player, not experienced, who thinks they can then join in. And they're the ones to be careful of.
Yeah, because what's happening there is that...
The two guys have to, if they're having a good time,
but that's where sometimes just stepping in and say, okay guys, I know you have a bit of banter, just keep it in check, making sure it's not personal. It's the word I use, make sure it's not personal, and keep it in check. And once you do that, you've already flagged to some players that you're not going to tolerate bad behaviour. But if you don't say anything, and then the third player joins in, starting to escalate, it forces you to take action where maybe a quiet word earlier might have prevented that. If we can be preventative rather than reactive, I think we're all better off. That's why I say two players have a banter, and sometimes you might go up to the guy and say, how do you know this guy? Oh, I played with him last year or 2 years ago. So you get context, you see what motivated the little bit of banter. So then you can talk to them and say, well, just keep it in check, make sure it's nothing personal. You do that, you're sort of flagged, And look, I understand, I get it, it's not easy for everybody. I understand that. But I'm here to help you, so by all means give me a call and we'll talk through it. Okay?